Well, I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the March 22nd, 2017 meeting of the Planning Board, Town of Nottingham. I'd like to take a couple minutes just here to recognize that we today are having a board changes. So today is administrative, that we have no public hearings. It's a basically administrative meeting. Every member right now has the agenda, and we will go through this. But I do want to make, welcome Joe Clough.
Thank you.
Congratulations on becoming a planning board member.
It was a tough campaign, but
Didn't ask for a recount.
And Teresa Bascom for becoming once again a member again. So congratulations. I do want to acknowledge John Moran too. He served on the planning board for 8 years, and he will be missed. He's put in a long service for the community of Nottingham through the zoning board,
And he still serves on the assessing board.
on the assessor board. So, you know, we wish him well, and he really was a great member of the board. I just want to acknowledge John and his volunteer efforts. We thank him for that. So without any public meetings, we'll just kind of roll into, it might be nice, at least for people that are on TV, if they are watching. We don't have any public here, but at least to go around the room and let people introduce themselves, and I'll start with Teresa.
Teresa Bascom.
Charlene Anderson.
Edward Veal,
Dirk Grotenhuis.
Susan Mooney.
Gary Anderson, Joe Clough.
Paul Colby, code administrator.
And so everybody's been introduced. Usually we'll have an alternate, Robert Davies. He's not here tonight, but he doesn't have to be. He's an alternate. You don't have to be voted in to be an alternate, and we do have openings. So anyone who does want to become an alternate, you know, talk to Joanna or Paul. Happy to get you on the board. So that really goes through the introduction of members, election of officers. So every year we go through and elect new officers for the board. The positions we have are chair, vice chair, secretary, and capital improvement plan representative. We also do have a select board representative that's on the board, and since Charlene's shown up, we're hoping that you
Well,
then...
we haven't had our first meeting yet,
Okay.
so
We'd love to have you back, but if it's not you, then we'll welcome whoever comes.
Maybe, right?
We'll welcome whoever, and we'll go from there.
yep.
So I guess we would go through, so currently, I sit as chair, Ed sits as vice chair, Sue Mooney sits as secretary, and John Moran had sat as the CIP representative. So I guess I would go through, we can go through each one of these. I would ask that if there's anyone who currently holds those that does not want to, just to acknowledge that, and that way they're not nominated if they really don't want to. So I'll give that 30-second thought. All right, so since the chair is the first on the list, I'd be happy to chair again. And I have missed the past 2 meetings and apologize for that, but there are some other things that come up that occur, but I'd be happy to do that, or if there's other people that are interested in that, we're more than welcome to.
Well, so I'd
Hear that.
re-nominate Dirk Grotenhausen as the, I probably didn't say your last name right,
We know who you're talking about.
as chair.
Second.
Well, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, which I'm not going to vote. So thank you.
Thank you, Dirk.
We'll take
Thank
this
you
on
very
again
much.
for the next year. And with that, so we currently have, the next position would be vice chair. And probably, since Ed is currently in that position, I'd like to thank him for doing his due diligence in the past and being there. Are you willing to take that on again?
I am also willing, if anybody is, I'm all about sharing of leadership, so if anybody else feels they want to step into that role, I think we can discuss that too, but I'm definitely willing to continue to serve in this role as well.
I nominate Ed Beal.
Okay, I'll second.
Is that you, Charlene?
Yeah.
There's a nomination, a second. Any discussion on that at all? Those in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? None.
And I'll abstain.
Thank you, Ed.
You're in. Thank you all. Thank you, Ed.
Appreciate it.
And then we have the secretary role, which is now, it was previously Sue Mooney. And I would turn to anybody else in the group, or Sue, if you want to, if you're still interested in.
I am. It's a comfortable position for me, and even last meeting when Ed needed to recuse himself, and I sat in the boss chair with
You
help
did a good
from-
job.
Thank you, thank you. You only shuddered once, but I think I made up.
Wasn't that bad of a
No,
shot?
no, no, it wasn't.
Well,
That'll be fine.
thank you.
I nominate Sue Mooney for secretary.
I'll second.
Thank
A
you.
motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? None. That's
I did
unanimous.
vote.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
And then this would be a position that currently no one, or previously no one is here to do that. So I would like to implore, if someone is interested and would like to take on the capital improvement representative, then we'd certainly be interested.
And that's also a role that can be filled outside of the board, correct? We can appoint somebody that's not.
The selectmen, when they formed it a number of years ago, specifically said planning board member.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a lot of meetings.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time commitment,
Yeah.
mostly right before budget season.
Right, and it's, I mean, there's nothing, I mean, the CIP's pretty established. So it's not a lot of, I don't know when the meetings were, though, that's the only thing.
I thought they were like late summer, early fall.
Yeah, but I don't know what time of day,
Oh,
like
I
if
see.
They were in the
evening,
evening, usually, they were in the evening.
Evenings, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I do ZBA,
Yeah.
planning board, I'm a library trustee and a cemetery trustee. My plate's full.
So you're saying you would like
Grandma.
to do this?
That's what I heard, Ed.
Got a thumb in there.
You're right. And a grandmother who was helping to raise a child. No.
And Charlene can't.
So we'll look into that side of the table.
Well, another thing, if Gary passes on that because he's comfortable in his present position at, as our Stratford Regional Planning Commission, I wonder if we couldn't lean on Buzz a little bit at the next meeting to see if he might be interested. in
There's no
taking
hurry to
it
fill
on.
that one tonight.
There isn't
Yeah.
a hurry to, we don't have to have this filled tonight. But.
I'd be happy to look into it.
And
a little
maybe,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll give you time to
We're
review.
gonna sit down in the office and spend some time together, and we'll get you up to speed on what
Yeah.
that is.
It's a good foray into like getting your feet wet into the budget.
Sure.
Without being on the budget committee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and meet other people in town and see where we're going.
Okay, well, we'll punt that one, and we'll see where it lands.
So I know Buzz isn't here. His alternate term is up this year because of the way we had that
The way we
year
staggered,
where
yeah.
they were scattered when we did it.
As far as we know, he's indicated he wants to come back as an alternate.
Does he need to be here for us to nominate him?
No.
I nominate Robert Davies to, they're normally 3-year positions, so a 3-year term as alternate.
Second?
Second.
I was confused there on seconding, but we'll give it to Gary. Did you give it to Gary?
Gary got it first, yeah.
All right. So there's a motion and a second to have Robert Davies on a 3-year term for an alternate. Is there any discussion? Those in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
And it's unanimous.
If you didn't want it, you should.
Hey, you didn't want it, should have been here, right?
course, as an alternate, you can alternatively not show up the whole time, right?
It's very rare he's not here.
I know,
That's the
it
thing,
is.
yeah.
Okay, well, that ends the election of the officers for this 2017, 2018. And now we go into the 2017 planning goals. This is a time where we kind of try and take up some topics that we'd like to, approach over the year. And we try and take things that we can actually commit to and getting done. We've had a pretty good history of, keeping the lists realistic, and I think we've accomplished a lot of the goals that we've already set out in the past. So this is a good time to kind of get them onto the list, and, this isn't a one-time deal either. This is just kind of a strategy planning discussion.
One of the things we've done in the past is done a ranking. We've had members all submit, we can talk about it tonight, but in the next week or so, submit your plans, what you think our goals should be for the year. Joanne and I will correlate it all together, we'll make up a list, we'll email it back to everybody, and then we will, you guys rank in order, one to what, however many we have on the list, and then we'll come up with a spreadsheet like we had before. Yeah.
I know a couple things that we had talked about was, from last year was the dark skies ordinance.
Just,
To
we already got
work
your
on
name, I
that.
just need phone number.
I
that
think, hadn't we talked too about maybe it was in the hazard mitigation meeting, Paul, I don't recall now.
Yeah.
The floodplain
Yeah, that was brought up at HUD.
has.
Yes.
Yeah, so those might be two that we want to
Yeah,
think about.
we need to look at, actually, I have that in my notes, the floodplain stuff is changing, so that's a zoning issue,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
One thing that we had talked about too, when we were talking about the ADUs, we talked about detached dwellings.
Yes.
But we didn't go to that, so that's also something we could
Right.
be
Yeah.
looking at.
Yeah, good for discussion.
One other thing, and I'm not sure how to address it, but, just from a, kind of what we're seeing at the select board level is, roads where it goes from pavement to dirt, this time of year are like big challenges because of the way the drainage is. And so it creates humongous potholes and stuff. And, so I'm not sure from a, planning, perspective, what we may or may not be able to do with that. But, one of the thoughts that I had is in, the Rocky Hill development, that's up off of, Ledge Farm, and where the Rocky Hill development is pavement, but then kind of pretty much right after you go by, you might go back, past a mailbox, and then it turns into, dirt. So I don't know if it's something that when we're looking at, a development where it's adjacent to a dirt road, if maybe there's some, planning or something that we need to take into consideration.
With our new subregs we just did a year ago, that's in there now, the off-site improvement, there's a whole section on off-site improvement, so review that, yeah.
So that was an off-site improvement that the developer.
Right, from there to the four corners, the developer hot top
They
that.
paved that way,
So yeah.
but that was the debate before that.
Yeah, that one wasn't a required mitigation.
Yeah.
That was actually a request from the developer to do it. So it wasn't a requirement of the board or the approval process.
Correct,
He volunteered to do that,
Right.
so it would make.
So
that
he
subject.
actually extended the pavement?
Yeah.
yeah.
So then maybe, maybe, I don't know, did we ever get, John's input on like where should that pavement end or?
Well, I don't know if it was N, but he was in favor of it getting.
Right, yeah, and he had, that corner, right after where you're talking, Charlie, where it turns to dirt, Johnny and I and Chris have talked about it just in the last month. There's an issue with drainage. We would have to take some people's land on both sides of the road. Johnny says it's almost, you can't fix it. It is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, you know, we can't fix but just, you know, that's.
For the future.
We're seeing that, and so it's like, you know, is there other things that we can do from a planning perspective? So maybe it's the off-site, just be, you know, in those discussions, you know, if there's that and.
Well, I think that might be a good topic, because, you know, we've got a lot of gravel roads in the community, and we're getting more and more paved roads, which, you know, means more and more maintenance. And if we can't keep up with the maintenance, then they get really potholed, even, you know, the paved ones. So it's almost, in some cases, it's almost better to have it gravel, because you can maintain those better and cheaper. I've worked with some communities that are actually reverting back to having more gravel roads, because they can't afford the investment into repaving them, because there's the break off of, you know, if it's not maintained for, you know, a period of years, then you can't bring it back.
Right.
You know, if it's not maintained, then it's, you have to replace the whole thing, and it's a huge expense.
No, we're gonna be meeting with John, I think, in April, to kind of, you know, get his thinking on, you know, some of the roads that are challenging and stuff. But just bring it up, because it's what especially this time of year, is when phone calls are coming in and complaints are coming in, which, you know, there's some stuff that you can do, but some stuff that you can't do.
Well, I would imagine,
season.
not knowing road science at all, but you get frost heaves in pavement.
Right.
Aren't those potholes more or less of the frost heave in the dirt, in the gravel roads as well? And I mean, that's just what happens when you live in New England. It doesn't stay flush and even all the time. And when you get the heavy driving rains as well, it's going to wear away some of that stuff.
It depends on how well it's engineered and built in the first place, and how good the sub base is and everything, is the effect of how significant those things are.
But even on the major highways, you get the frost heaves. I mean, Route 4 is a major interstate, and it still ends up with those.
In a nutshell, the pavement is just, it's just a impervious layer, right? It's to keep the rainwater or any water out of the base material. So that's why it's crowned, it sheets off.
Right.
And once you get a crack in it, then that water gets into the base and the sub-base, and that's where it starts getting problems. And yeah, that happens on gravel roads. But on gravel roads, you can just grade them.
Great, yeah.
And then on paved roads, that crack just propagates more, and then it just becomes a pothole, and then you have a pothole that gets filled, and then you have a crack around the pothole, the water just gets in, and then it's really kind of too late.
Another thing to keep in mind, the Rock Hill one just reminded me of, I think there was a conversation online, like on one of the Nottingham pages, which is too unfortunate because it's not directed to us, where, you know, we're the ones that actually make the initial decisions, but about like the safety of Ledge Farm, because where it's paved, you know, so if people go the other way into Epping, which apparently a lot of people do from that development, or that's what it was said online, is, you know, they're concerned about the safety now with the increased traffic, but like you said, there's not much you can do easily to fix that
When
corner.
Ledge Farm was approved, there was a non-abutter, but someone that lives on Ledge Farm Road, had asked the planning board to have him pave that way, and at that point, the planning board said no.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we can have, like, the Dunbarton, that which goes off onto Poor Farm Road. Couldn't the town have said, dear developer, you need to pave Poor Farm Road down to, I mean, we have that ability to do that, right? Because it's an impact on, you know, that road, because that development went onto that road. So, you know, I think it's, you know,
both of them get a little dicey in Ledge Farm or Poor Farm, because it's a scenic road too.
Right.
So, that kind of ends up muddying the water a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of it from a strategy standpoint, could we ask another town if they've, how they've planned around?
They do, where I live, we do that all the time. Okay. Yeah.
The other thing though is if you do more pavement, it's going to increase traffic and speed on those roads. Because anytime the road is nicer, people are going to go faster, whether it's posted or not.
That's why Garland Road, we liked our lumpy bumpy road.
That's what, I
Natural
brought
speed
it up
bumps.
last night. The nicer you make the road, the faster people are going to go.
Although I will say that dirt roads don't necessarily slow everyone down.
They do some though, compared to what you've got on a tarred road.
We'll put gravel roads on here just to,
Yeah,
on a list,
I
and then
think
we'll-
it's, where it
discussion.
goes or what
Yeah.
we do, I think it's something that, I think it's something that we're seeing more and more that needs to be from both, we're getting more and more miles of road coming in, and
Since 2010, we've added 10.1 new miles of road.
I mentioned
Doesn't
that.
sound like a lot, but that's a lot.
If you do, I mentioned at town meeting, because there was the two warrant articles, which they don't list a tax impact, but if you divide pretty much our highway department's budget by the number of roads, it's about $8,000 or $9,000 a mile per year.
does that include construction, non-construction, and all
That
of
was
the
just-
equipment?
that was
That's
just
just
the-
the operating
That was
budget?
just that line.
Yeah.
So it doesn't include, the other stuff, that's CIP stuff.
Or salaries.
No, it includes salary.
Or did it include
I was talking about the highway line.
Any other kind of topics, maybe, even, I don't know if there's any environmental, or I guess we did have dark skies on here, so.
Yes, in addition to dark skies, I was going to bring it up at the next Conservation Commission meeting, that we need to start a committee, because you had given that charge basically to the Conservation Commission. But we would welcome participation on the committee from members of this board. And in addition to dark skies, we had also decided to move ahead at the planning board for protection for lower level streams and wetlands, category 1, 2, and 3, that are not protected by the state. And the state really has no setbacks at all for those types of bodies of water.
Is it possible to get, I can't remember if we found this again, but the master plan had the short-term, long-term, immediate, ongoing goals.
The end of each chapter, and then there was a thing at the end of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. And
Yeah.
I know we've consolidated it to planning board specific, so we can check off.
Yeah, we
some
did a
items.
lot.
I know we knocked off a bunch.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
There was still a couple of things remaining.
Yeah, I think there's something with like the aquifer, just look through it quickly.
And should we start thinking about an update in the next couple of years for master plan? Wouldn't that
we
be fun,
adopted it.
Charlene?
That was gonna be my question.
Excuse
I
me?
noticed a lot of the data is very old, and the kind of housing prices are really going through the roof, and I've really only gotten through about 3 sections last night, but
Yeah, it's one of the problems when
When
we
you fell
when we
asleep.
adopted it. It's, you're, as you adopt it, you adopt it knowing that it's already some of it's outdated, because it's a long process. This was a huge rewrite from the prior, and statutorily required, I'm just giving the update. Statutorily required every 10 years, so we're.
What I can, what I
From a lot
can
of
do,
local
Ed,
towns.
is pull the whole
Well.
list out. And then I'll mark it up completed and things we got left, and we'll get it back to everybody.
Plus, remember, we started that folder, when we started that folder that we were gonna kind of put is like parking lot stuff.
Yeah.
It would be good to see what's in that folder, because it's been a while.
Parking lot stuff?
Yeah, so we.
We were just
kinda-
parking stuff in the folder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, we were like, hey, we should put that in the folder, it should
But
be.
that went along.
Yeah, we're gonna build a municipal parking lot.
Gonna develop parking lots to generate revenue off of it.
You're talking about the list that I've created on my.
Yeah.
We are looking
yeah.
for meter maids, Dirk, just, if you're interested. All right, yeah, so if anybody, we can keep going. I don't want to run you short, but if anybody can think of anything else,
One more thing?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Making our roads safe for pedestrians and bikers and
yeah,
even
and that's
people
actually part of
riding
the master
horses.
plan, I think,
Yeah.
on the list, yeah.
Well, you brought up, was it the last meeting that you brought up about signage or something?
Signage, yes, on
Sounds
a
like that
numbered
would be
road
an
in
easy-
Durham, and also those stencils that show bikers
And I did
painted
look
right on the
into that,
road.
by the way.
Yeah, I like those. Remind people that,
So I went to
pay attention.
the Bike Ped Technical Advisory Committee meeting. I'm loosely affiliated with it, but I went to a meeting today up at TOT, and they are coming out with kind of a toolkit for municipalities that has a bunch of menus in there that you can, you know, if your municipality is dealing with this issue, you know, here's some solutions, or here's some things that you can go to. One of the things that is going to be available are signages, and the signs that they have recommended, and they're all MUTCD compliant, they're all federal highway compliant, shows that there's it's a state law, it says state law, automobiles, you know, bicyclists get 3 feet of clearance or something, or I don't remember exactly the terminology. And towns can purchase those signs, and they're relatively inexpensive because they come out of the state prison. So they're subsidized to some extent, and you can put them throughout your community if you want. And the state is allowing those signs to be placed on state routes within the municipalities, as long as municipalities buy them.
Yeah.
So 152, 156, if you want those signs on there, so that's something that we could look into a little bit more.
I'm in favor of that. It also needs to be for pedestrians too, because yesterday I was walking with Ezekiel in the stroller, and I actually had to do this to get cars to move over, and they were not even slowing down, but I'm like, you've got to, and especially at this corner, you know, when you head to the library, they can't see around it.
No, that's the
Especially
best
if they're going
part.
fast. It's
And that plagues
frustrating.
many rural communities that just doesn't have, you know, any pedestrian networks, any sidewalks,
Right.
per se. So, you know, that's a struggle that everybody, you know, most rural communities do have.
And I wonder if there's anything available for getting the flashing that shows the change in the speed? Because most people don't seem to understand that it goes
It
from
goes
the
to 30.
40 to 30 going through this stretch of town, and they just continue zipping right through, and I'm like, it's 30 you go through here.
I think there's been some pushback in the past regarding any kind of flashing lights. Because I think the school had discussed it during school, the
Yes,
specific school times that you know,
Yes.
do a school zone and have it
Right.
be reduced speeds. Because I think right now, we don't have any traffic lights.
Right.
including
Right.
any
Flashing yield.
Yeah, we looked at putting the flashing lights
I
when
think
we moved
there's-
the fire station, and the state said you can do it, but you've got to do you're paying for it, you do everything, you maintain it, you pay the electricity,
well, they have them operating by solar now.
right.
So it wouldn't have to be,
But there is a cost and there's a plan.
But there are also grants.
Right.
So there's a number of Safe Routes to School grants that go out, and those are short dollars for those types.
Yep.
You know, I approached the school maybe, 5 years ago about doing that, just didn't gain any traction, because there was a grant application available, and it passed by. So there are opportunities to do that, and, you know, it just usually needs someone to champion it.
I'll bring it up to at an upcoming board meeting.
okay.
For the bike sign,
And, I
same
mean,
thing.
If you want me to
Yeah.
go and speak, let me know, because
Be active.
I just,
I also had a conversation.
we're trying to help the
While I was
community.
at
Keep
Stratford
that locked.
Regional's
It's-
meeting last week
Right.
about one of the things specifically I brought up were the, you know, we see a lot of I'll call them bike races, or the groups of bikes, and they can be, you know, obviously, our roads aren't made for that, but they're there. And there is a way to kind of make that kind of seem as if it was meant to be, so to speak. So that's one thing we could also be working on.
But people also have to remember that bicycles are not supposed to ride side by side. They're supposed to obey all traffic laws.
Yeah.
You see them blowing stop signs in town all the time,
And going on the wrong side of the road.
wrong side of the road. They're a moving vehicle. They have to obey all the laws, just like driving a vehicle.
I think, I think I recall somewhere that maybe it was when we were doing the master plan, that there's some kind of, I mean, there's a bike route on some kind of biking association map that goes down the state road and down
Yep.
Darrow Street, I think.
It goes down
onto-
Flutter Street. We see them
Yes.
every weekend almost, bikers. Groups of them.
So we're actually on radar for a couple other things with this transportation study. And so something like even the bike route or signs, that, I think that really should be brought up with that, because the more we put out there at one time,
Yeah.
the better possibility we'll have of being approved.
Well, there's the safety and then there's the opportunity too. If you invite those type of, activities, then
Well, they
there's
stop at
opportunities.
Liars,
Yeah.
and they stop at Liars, because you see them all the time at Liars getting a drink or power bar or something.
But Charlene, when you bring this up to the with the Board of Selectmen, I think one of the most dangerous places in town is the library to the Old Town Hall. We had an event, Conservation Commission, a year or so ago, in which the number of people coming to the event was more than the library capacity, more than the room could hold. So it was moved over across the street. It began at just about dusk. So I called the police department and said, could we just have somebody on board to help people across the street before and after the event? Because people come around that corner and they're not expecting to see,
DOT will not put a
80-year-olds.
crosswalk line or anything. We have already tried. When we rented out the old town hall for the daycare, the daycare with us approached DOT, Chris and I approached them, and they're like, nope,
even
because it's too
recently.
much of a corner.
And
We
wasn't,
used to paint the crosswalk there years ago, we found out, and DOT says, I don't think so, that's our road.
was it you, Gary, that said that where 156 and 152, isn't that like slotted as a,
It's
Look
that,
at
right
that
now, that's being
perpendicular?
evaluated,
Yeah.
and so that's what I mean by we're on the radar for a project or
Yeah.
more. So if there are other things, now's the time to get things in there.
yeah.
Yeah, that corner and then.
Before the
before
2-year
152. We're both.
planning.
So it would
Actually,
make
they're gonna
sense,
look at the next 2
it would
years.
make sense that if they're gonna look at that, then that they address the other safety issues coming down.
Right now, that's being
Yeah.
evaluated, so I found out. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
the problem with that, though, if you make that a T intersection, people's headlights are gonna go right into that house.
They ought to do is just say no left, no right turns, make everybody go down Church Street.
Ah,
Now it's a
thought.
T intersection. Sorry.
good thought.
I didn't have the opportunity to see any real plan, but that would be engineered by DOT and put out,
Yeah, I think that was on
put
the
together.
last 10 years,
as
the
it's
10-year
not a-
plan.
as long as it's not a crazy roundabout that
There
would
you
take
go.
us 6 months to figure out how to get through.
I seem to remember, I'm just trying to think of that corner, if
The house
there's
right there.
foliage or trees that's on town land that could be removed and help visibility.
No, there's
No.
usually like campaign signs and plants, but that's about it. And snow, banks,
And there's a
Yeah.
house
I
Oh,
right
think
in
it's the
corner.
house that
It's
obscures
the
it,
house that's,
yeah.
okay.
yeah.
It's right on the.
It's right on the road, very old house.
Yeah, that.
All right, so we have dark skies, we have floodplain changes, we have ADUs, some gravel roads, some various order of streams, some bike ped topics.
Only other thing I have that
Wetlands.
maybe we can think about discussing is, I know during one of the plans, a number of the butters were brought up the point that a road could be put in on the property line. There's no setback for the road. So we might want to just kick that one around as a board and see if that's, if that should be included in a setback or.
Meaning driveway, right? Is that
Or
what
road.
you're-
Road.
No, a road going into a subdivision, like what was gonna happen on
That's-
Flutter Street,
okay,
was gonna go
right,
right on
right.
that property line.
I don't know if that was intended or if we just kind
Roads
of
on
missed that one.
borders.
Yeah,
Yep.
setbacks. Did you put in, lower order streams?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I was thinking about too was, one place where we have mixed zoning, and it's really the only place we have commercial zoning that I'm aware of, is Route 4. And it seems to me, and we see it whenever a business comes in, always seems to be a conflict between the residential and the commercial that's on Route 4. And it just causes issues. I don't know if that'd be something we at least want to look at as far as.
Yeah, I mean, we probably are covered it in our site plan regs, but I think, we may want to get a little bit stronger language in what buffers or something, visual buffers or noise buffers or something like that.
Well, because right now, even when we updated that part of the zoning ordinance, we hired Jack Meddy. The first allowed use, the planning board wanted is residential use in the commercial industrial zone. And he even questioned it at the time. And so, most towns in your commercial industrial zone, residential use is by special exception. Make them go through some hoops.
I thought it was the other way around with the,
Nope.
Okay. All right, well, that's enough I think, for tonight. And
That's a good list. It's a busy list.
And then, if you guys think of anything else the next week, get it to us and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and then we can prioritize them.
Yep.
All right. So next thing would be public comment, but it's not really a public meeting. It is, but we don't have any public, so I'll take this time to maybe do some updates. If people have things that are on their minds, I'll start this side of the room with Paul.
All right. Did everybody check please check and we'll get the new list out. I've got Joe's information. OEP conference is coming up. I think Joanna emailed you guys that information. We were looking for Bruce to come in and talk with us, hopefully in April. Bruce is not available in April, so it's the first meeting in May, correct, Joanna?
I'm checking it.
I think it's May 10th, we said.
Yes.
May 10th, we'll have Bruce here that night?
No, 24th.
24th, I'm sorry.
wow.
May 24th. And our next meeting will be April 12th. Right now, we will have a public hearing for Eversource to do some cutting on Ledge Farm and Poor Farm.
Call them and make sure they show up.
Are they going to give us the right list, or are they going to just?
We have the list, we'll get it to you in your next emails.
Yeah, with headings, don't forget the
It's
headings.
basically where the cistern is, True's Pond is, from about there to the town line on Ledge Farm, and pretty much, not the whole length, but almost the whole length of Mill Road, Poor Farm. The other one, we have a conceptual hearing. Remember a little while ago, we did a lot line adjustment between Dan Mathers and the Travis?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Dan wants to come in with a conceptual to open up a campground. We allow campgrounds by conditional permitting only. So read up on that part of your zoning ordinance. So
Campground.
He talked to us and he wants to make $1 million building a campground.
I do too.
And everybody got the new zoning ordinances? That's all I got, Dirk.
All right. Joe, got anything, first meeting? Going okay?
Thanks
You
for
all right?
welcoming me, and I have a lot of reading to do, so I might have a stronger prescription the next time I come.
There will be a quiz next meeting, yeah.
I would like to set up time, though. with
Yeah,
you so we can-
when we're done tonight.
Sure.
we'll set- Yeah.
Well, one of the benefits that I found on this board when I first came on is that everybody's willing to provide good advice and, help you along, so I think we'll make sure that continues.
Joanna puts up, when we have the agendas and items, she puts the items up on the planning board's page. You'll see like the agenda come up, just click on that, and then the plans and everything will be there instead of, versus sending them all out and everything. That's how we've been doing it the last year or so.
Gary?
We already talked about the Route 4 and 152 thing, so that's covered. The only other thing is, just so I'd share, a vote we had as the regional board, and it was basically, I couldn't figure out how this was going to happen. It was a transportation vote, night before, I'm looking at all these different projects saying, how in the world? But it was just mainly lumped into stuff such as support, mobility, alternative modes, networking, safety, and state of repair. And so we voted by remote, one or the other, basically. And I wasn't able to actually get a copy of the results in hand, but there was a graph that came up at the end of that meeting with safety being the on top of the list. So, but I'll get a copy of that for the board so you can kind of see how the transportation is prioritized.
Sue?
At the Conservation Commission's last meeting, the applicants for Shea Concrete came and presented their dredge and fill plans to the members. And then yesterday, four of us went and did a site walk up at the site. And
Which four?
Route 4?
No,
Oh,
which-
which four?
Four of us.
Four of the Conservation Commission members, Sam Demare, Cheryl Smith, Deb Kimball, and myself.
Okay.
I met with three people, the engineer. I'd have
You don't
to
have
look
to
at my-
remember their names,
okay,
I was
thank
just
you.
curious
Yeah,
on who went.
Wetland scientist and the plant manager. And we took a look and had a lot of questions and asked for clarification, made some suggestions, took a walk around, and all the things that we saw and comments that were made and recommendations that were made are in the draft minutes that I sent to you
Yeah,
folks this
yeah.
afternoon. They will be sending out new plans, modified plans to us, preferably a week prior to the next Conservation Commission meeting. So, and our next meeting is on the 10th. So
That
we
was
should-
amended plans for their alteration of terrain. Or their-
Yes,
right,
for their dredge and fill.
Dredge and
yeah,
fill, I mean, yeah.
There was a pipe, there is a pipe that goes under the road from the west side of the property to the east side where that wetland is. And that was not included in the initial plans, so they're gonna
So
make modifications.
would they have to resubmit that plan to DES for the dredge and fill?
They haven't submitted it yet. No, they were just looking for input and suggestions.
I thought they said when they were here that they had submitted it to DES.
We haven't signed it yet, but we might not sign it.
Or maybe they just filled out the application further.
Yeah, they fill out the application because, do you have my copy?
I returned it,
Okay.
but you
Joanne.
would just received it like the day before.
We got it in
Joanne.
on Monday, yeah.
Right, and then we got an electronic copy yesterday morning, and I
Okay.
sent it out to all the CC members to take a look. So I don't think it's gone anywhere. So that's it for that.
Do I have any other announcements that I need to make? I see Town and City, so we do have a new Town and City magazine. Anybody interested in that? You can
Take a
go
read.
for the planning. Designing healthier communities in New Hampshire, safe routes to school, building healthy communities, and riding the wave of progress. So those are the key topics. Will be available in the,
She said John did.
you want it now?
Sure.
All right.
What's your selectman's copy?
We don't get it. I've never seen it. I've seen it once.
Nice.
Ed?
I don't have anything. Yeah, thank everybody that ran and everybody that was at town meeting. It's great to be part of town that cares and down to the $400 or $500 line items of a budget. A lot of debate, and it's good because I think that's what helps keep everybody's a kind of a steward of our budget in town, which is pretty great.
You know, I noticed on Saturday, there were a lot of events going on. So
Brown had a basketball game.
but even here in town, there were things going, people over at here at the town hall, and there were people across the street and at the library. And like, it almost seems like this should be kind of a weekend when not much else goes on in town, so people are able to go to that, because if you've got all these other games or whatever, then it pulls you away from being able to go to the town meeting.
Yeah, can we make,
National,
Yeah,
a
No,
town
maybe the-
holiday?
right, I mean, it's a selectman thing where, you know,
That's an
this
idea.
facility isn't opened on that day, it's not, leased out to groups or anything, and same thing with the other town properties to try to
I will
encourage.
add it to my
Like you
notes.
said, try to encourage people to it.
Because
Yeah.
my thought was, in order to get people to go, I mean, it's different if you have a job where you have to go to work, but if sporting events, that we have control over, or even renting out the halls, no, because we want people going to the town meeting, making it kind of a,
Well, we took notes at the town meeting, so add that to the notes.
Charlene, do you have anything?
Well, whoever didn't go to the town meeting missed out on a very talented young girl who sang the national anthem and was absolutely positively incredible. And if we have her sing at every town meeting, people will come. That's what I think. No word yet on the USA Springs,
What was the deadline for that again?
April
April
6th.
6th.
I guess I misquoted that. I said April 9th at the town meeting
Oh.
and April 6th, so.
You got-
So our first 5 board member meeting will be on Monday. And we'll be doing the same thing we've done here, selecting officers and stuff, so I may or may not be here. We'll see what happens. And we'll start to work on priorities as well, just as we're doing here. And then, like I had mentioned, I think we've got slated sometime in April to meet with John and talk about roads and stuff, so I'll just keep you in the loop on what we talk about on that, and I'll bring forth the whole transportation signs stuff as something that maybe we want to work with the board on through this year, looking at that whole transportation safety side. I'll bring that forward.
I think it would be good.
Teresa?
See, for this, I'm going to be going to the OEP next month, and I'm also doing the hard road workshop that's coming at the end of this month
Yep.
as well.
Great. Okay, that's it for our agenda. We don't have minutes tonight, so we'll get those for next time, and I entertain a motion to
Adjourn.
Want your first motion?
Second.
Oh, motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
I thought Ed was giving the motion.
That's what I
I was trying to say, you can have your first motion.
So Joe's motion to adjourn, Gary's second.
That's gonna make me look like a slacker.
That's why we do it.
You look bad, we look great.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.